Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the All Sports Best podcast. I'm Trey Gonzalez, and today I am here with a legendary coach out of Carlsbad High School. He coached Cave Girls softball for 30 years, and he has done a lot of really big things, including basically countless amounts of state championship appearances and 11 state championships that he won as well. Coach John Tigert. Coach, thank you for being on today.
Thank you.
So today, this podcast is sponsored by the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce. Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce wants to let everyone know that they thank you for coming out to the first Flume flyover. It was a great success with about 13 balloons that were flying around Carlsbad, and they will have this event back in 2026 this year. They're excited for what's to come, and I'm excited of what's to come from the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce. Lots of great things happening in Carlsbad because of that organization. Okay. Coach, first let's just start from the beginning. How and when did your softball coaching career begin?
Actually, it was 1980. Joe Willis had asked several women coaches to coach. They never had a program before. They'd only play like 4 games in one tournament and whatnot. And now we're going to have a regular district and whatnot. And he came to me and asked several of the lady coaches, said, why don't you ask Coach Tigert? Because I wanted to be on the baseball staff. That's what I went to college on and everything. But I had played men's fast pitch, and I definitely didn't want to coach track. I just couldn't do it. And so he came and asked me, and believe it or not, he even told me, you only have 12 ball games scheduled, and we have no money to pay you as a coach. And I said, it doesn't matter. I'd rather do that than be, coerced into being a track coach. And so I was became the coach. Our jerseys, our tops were actually basketball jerseys, just with a small number in the front and number in the back. And we had softball pants. And we had 2 games snowed out in Carlsbad. And we played at St. Edward's Field. We didn't have our own field.
Okay.
And we were 5-5. 2 of my losses were to 2 men Class B teams. We played the men to give us somebody to play. And but that's when everyone got to go to the state tournament. There were 22 teams at state. We were seeded 17th, and we won it.
Oh, wow.
We won it the whole thing. We beat Gaston 1-0. I'm sorry, we beat Highland 1-0. And when we walked off the field, Joe Willis said, what do you want for next year? And I said, uniforms. And that's what we got.
That's cool. Wow, that is very interesting. So you're talking about the first tournament, 22 teams. That's all the teams that were in the state completely.
The state completely 1A, 2A. That was it. And like I said, we didn't have districts or anything. You just played anybody that you could. And we were the only team in the South. There was no other team. In fact, our first district that we were put in, we were in a district with Del Norte and Highland and whatnot. There was nobody in the South. It was just us.
So and then you guys would just travel over there. How was travel like back then?
People can't believe this, but we would go up on. We've actually traveled up on a Thursday, but most of the time we'd go up on Friday night, get up Saturday morning, go to Manzano's field and play Manzano at 8 o'clock, and they would leave, and El Dorado would show up and bring bases and put them down, and we would play 4 games in a row against 4 different people. And I think only once we lost 1 game. Most of the time we swept all 4 of them. And
just lined them up.
Yeah, and just line them up. Yeah, we just played. That's the only way we could get the games in. So, yeah, we'd play 4 games.
That is totally different.
Right in a row.
Now we have the activity buses going. Was it kind of similar back then, a yellow?
Yeah, we had a bus. We'd go on a yellow bus, or they call it the Silver Eagle, because we had one bus, and it had to be the first bus out of the yard. So if the boys were going to the game first, they would get it, or we would get it if we had the game first. But usually we just went up on a yellow bus.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you said that you played a men's team a couple times.
Oh yeah. We had a really good men's fast pitch thing here. AMAX, the old team, Union Industrial became the Potashers. They won regional a couple times. AMAX actually went to the World Tournament one time in Wisconsin.
Oh, wow.
Man, we had some really fine softball players there. Some of the best athletes in Carlsbad ever played men's fast pitch.
Okay, so it was baseball, men's fast pitch, and then women's fast pitch?
What do you mean?
Like in high school at that time?
Well, I mean, we didn't. They didn't have men's. I'm talking about this was during the summer. It was an independent league,
gotcha.
and we played all the games at St. Edwards. It was a men's league, and that's why where I learned really basically about softball. I learned from some of the best bunters in the country. Moon Mullins, he helped us, and Keith Sparks that runs Sparks thing. He was a really good pitcher and showed me about different change-ups. And in fact, I got a pitcher machine in my garage right now that I bought from Keith Sparks when the men's leagues folded, because no one wanted to work that hard, especially pitchers to develop, that it kind of folded. So I bought the machine from him, and I still have it.
That's cool. That's really cool. So back then, I mean, obviously now you can get on, hey, I want to learn this pitch. I want to learn how to teach this, coach this. You can find it on the internet. But back then it was all locally sourced.
Oh, it was all local, and I've given clinics from Denver to up in Bismarck, North Dakota, Florida, Tennessee, because that's how you learned. In the National Coaches Association, they pick 8 region coaches of the year. And the region, like we were in Region 8, that's Arizona, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico. That's our region. And your coach of the year, they bring all 8 of them in, and you talk 20 minutes on your program. And then at a huge banquet of about 3,000 people, they would name the National Coach of the Year. And I went, I was a nominee. And to be honest about it, I kind of felt good about myself. I was like 82-4 with 2 state championships. When we got there and I met the other 7 nominees, I was the worst coach there.
No way.
The worst record. And the guy that won it was Bill Hennessy, who became one of my best friends. His record, he had over 1,000 wins because he was out of Iowa and they play summer softball. High school softball during the summer. So they play 60 to 70 games in a season.
Smokes.
He had over 1,000 wins. And he was the national softball chairman. And when he retired, because you can only do it 6 years, he recommended me, and I became the national softball chairman.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, because of Bill Hennessy.
Oh, okay.
When he died in Roland, Iowa, they named the field after him. But they had this funeral at the ballpark, and they put me in coach, and they served Cracker Jacks and popcorn and hot dogs, just like a ball game. And I said, what a tribute to a coach. I learned a lot. And the reason why I went to those meetings, because I learned a little bit from nominees from all over the country. I actually was it 6 years, and then I wasn't for a year, and they had some problems and asked me to come back, and I did it another 5 to be a national chairman. So that means at the national convention, I'm in charge of getting the speakers. I'd get Mike Candria from the University of Arizona to be the speaker for us and stuff like that. That was part of my job.
Yeah.
But I took a lot of notes. I have a folder that's about 5 inches thick, notes from every coach around the country about bunting, pitching, and you pick out. When I gave a clinic, I'd say, here's 6 ways to bunt. You pick out the way you want.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you this.
What's right.
And you ask me what I do, I'll tell you what we do. But you can pick out what you want to do.
Yeah, that is really cool. Because that's, again, the way to get information was to learn from other people, and that's a great networking tool as well.
I actually learned, there was a nominee, he was a slow pitch coach, and I actually got an idea from him. He had what they call secret sisters, and you don't divulge until the season's over who your secret sister, and that's the girl that inspires you to, just because you're crying because Coach chewed you out, suck it up, because, and we don't divulge it. And I thought that would help our team. So that's something I got from him.
Yeah, that's cool. And you carried that throughout your career.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. Okay.
Yes.
What, I guess this plays right into what we're talking about. Other than technology, I guess, what was the biggest change in softball from the time you started until now? Obviously, there's a lot of changes because you talked about the uniforms and where they played and all that stuff. But what was one of the other factors?
Well, one of the major things when we first started off, the pitcher's rubber was at 40 feet. And 40 feet, I got a girl, I want to meet Shelly Owen. she was throwing equivalent of 68 miles an hour, which is equivalent at 40 feet, almost over 105.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, her ERA, I've never turned it in, but her ERA in one season was 0.007.
Holy
smokes. She didn't even give up a quarter of a run.
Yeah.
And that's how fast she was throwing. When I had retired for the first time. I retired 3 times from coaching.
Oh, yeah.
The first time, George Frederick, when he was the coach, they moved it back to the collegiate level, which is 43 feet.
Okay.
So they moved it back because they thought there was too many no-hitters being pitched. The bad news is when they moved it back, that means the pitchers can put more stuff on the ball because when you're at 40 feet, you don't have enough time for the ball to do a rise ball or a drop because you're too close. But now you're farther back, you can put more stuff on the ball.
Right.
So they had as many no-hitters as before.
Right,
But
yeah.
that was one of the major changes.
Interesting.
Of course, now I helped design the field that's up there today, but we have field turf. I mean, my girls were having to drag their positions with pieces of angle iron. We didn't even have a three-wheeler or any of that stuff. We did it by hand.
Yeah.
And drag our fields. The girls were responsible for all that. So now, now it's like Yankee Stadium. You know,
just
they
show
come
up.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we never had a locker room. My first concession stand was out of the back of my pickup truck. I went down and bought a bunch of Cokes and candy bars, and my wife sold them out of the back of the truck, just for people, not to make a profit, just so people to have it. And now, the girls got out of their car, got dressed in their car, or got dressed at home. We didn't have locker rooms or any of that stuff. But my philosophy was, I tell the girls, you take care of the winning, and I'll take care of everything else.
Yeah.
Every year we're going to get something better. Me and my son built our first batting cage up there, and other teams, believe it or not, teams from Albuquerque come down and say, well, that's why they beat us. Look, they got a batting cage. Well, we made our own.
Right.
Yeah, but we were the first ones to have a batting cage.
That's
and
crazy. In the
storage
state?
rooms.
Or that
Yeah.
you know of? Yeah.
Yeah. No, nobody had it unless they were using a men's field or something.
Wow.
We had a batting cage and stuff like that, and we made it. I mean, we just did it ourselves.
Yeah.
The trees in the outfield I planted. That's how old I am. That shows you how big those trees are.
Yeah.
We planted the trees and the fence. My booster club put up the fence. And the metal fence we have today, my boosters paid $23,000 for that and did it themselves.
Hey.
I don't want to sound bad about, not Title IX or anything, but we had to beg, borrow, and steal everything we
Yeah.
got,
No, I
everything
bet.
we had. Yes.
Wow.
I remember
a lot of changes.
actually your mama during the state tournament, she even made our lemonade that we sold in the concession stand blue. And I accidentally spilled some blue paint when I was painting something on the gravel, and I kind of raked it in. I went, that looks really good. So we got several cans of blue paint and put it all over the white gravel, and then raked it in so our gravel would be blue and white.
That's cool.
Yeah,
And what's cool about that is how much it kind of is a tribute to the pride that was there too.
Amen. Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
our girls did. David Moody, I remember he showed up and we built the shade over the bleachers ourselves and whatnot. The locker room was literally built by my booster club, me and my coaches. And that's not just softball coaches. Dono and the rest of the coaches, because his daughter played for me, they'd all show up late at night. And Mr. Finkbone, his daughter was one of my pitchers, and he was there all the time, built all the cabinets inside and everything.
Dang.
So we did.
That's awesome.
But every year we had something, and other teams would come and say, wow. And not to bring it up, but our field became really the premier field. So I said, this is where we need to start the All-Star game. And I was the chairman and founder of the All-Star game. And we ran it in Carlsbad for 15 years. And the teams from the north and players come from the north, and they seriously, of course, our field was dirt then, but they go, wow, this is nice.
Yeah.
This is nice. And I got a lot of help, got a lot of people sponsored and stuff like that. And we worked at it and stuff. But
That's cool.
My wife knew that if I wasn't home, I was at the ball field doing something. Yeah.
So, and that was another thing, the All-Star game, I wasn't actually aware of that, but I remember hearing about hosting state championships in Carlsbad as well. How
Well,
many?
Believe it or not, the Activity Association, when we first started in 1980, it was a write-off. The state softball tournament was a write-off for the association because they never made money. And what happened is Hobbs and us were in the state championship game, and it's pouring down rain in Albuquerque. And they came up with the idea. They said, "You two are in it. Why don't you go play it in Hobbs or Carlsbad, the championship game?" So we flipped, and I won the flip. And they said, "When do you want to play it?" Well, first of all, I joked. I said, "We're going to play it on Tuesday." And Hobbs' coach said, "Why?" And I said, "Because all your seniors graduate Monday night. They won't be able to play." Anyway, but we played it.
That's cool.
I said, "How about 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, Sunday afternoon in Carlsbad?" They said, "You got it." We had to get back on the bus. All our girls would go, and I told them to go home, get in bed. And we had winterized field, which means we weren't going to use the field anymore.
Yeah.
I had flooded it, and we stayed up till midnight, raking and rolling, fixing up the thing. They put it in Sunday's paper that the state championship game, Hobbs, was going to be 2 o'clock that afternoon. And there were people that drove up so early in the morning, they drove their car up and left it at the field and got in another car to go to church. But they wanted to make sure they had a place to park and all that.
That's cool.
And we ended up, no one had charged money then. We passed a coffee can around in the stands and everything. We paid for Hobbs's bus to come over from Hobbs. We paid for the referee umpires that came down from Albuquerque. We paid them. They paid me $150 because I'm the grounds crew with my coaches and everything. And we sent them $3,000 profit. That's how much money we made at the gate just passing the coffee can around.
Wow.
So when and by the way, it wasn't a setup because we lost. We lost 2-1. I had 2 freshmen and 3 eighth graders starting for me, and we lost just 2-1. And but Albuquerque come down and said, "Man, you can make stuff like that. How about you hosting the whole 4A?" And it was just 4A.
Okay.
That was a big school then. So can you host the 4A state tournament? And we said, "We'll do it on one condition. Carlsbad plays the game at 6 o'clock. We're going to play at like 12, 2, 4, and 6. We're going to play the Cave Grill game at 6 because that's when we can get the most fans there." And they agreed to it. And we won it, the state championship.
That's cool.
Yeah, we beat Highlands, I forgot, and thing. So then we got it again the next year also, and that was a big moment in Carlsbad because we won the state championship, and after when we won it, everybody got their lawn chairs and then walked across the street and watched Shane Andrews and the Cayman beat Valley for the state championship the same night within about 3 hours of each other in Carlsbad.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, and the place was packed. Yeah.
And that was like a national championship team with.
Oh, well, yeah, they were voted national champions. And then that next year is when we won our 3rd in a row, and we broke the national record for state championships with 13.
Wow.
In fact, it was actually put on ESPN.
Okay, so Coach, you won 11 state championships. You went to the state championship game 19 times over your career. So that's what, almost 2/3 of the time that you coached the Cave Girls, you were in the state championship?
Pretty much, because I coached 30 years. So
Yeah.
And a couple of those other years, we got 3rd. They used to play for 3rd, and we've won 3rd, I think, 3 times.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So
even though we knew what had happened is really the state championship game was the semifinals. The 2 best teams played, and then the winner played this other team in the bracket, which they were going to kill them. So we ended up playing for 3rd. Yeah.
were there any of those championships that you remember that maybe were most special or?
Well, not any of them special because you got different girls, so it's different circumstances and stuff. And there's a lot of things. Probably the one that sticks in everybody's mind that are still here and the players are here is that when we were going for the state record in the nation, it was if we win, we're going to win our 13th, and that would have been the national record. We were the game was tied at 2-2, and we were playing West Mesa. There were 3,200, 3,400 people there. ESPN was there. They had a camera in the center field thing.
Dang.
And I had a girl named Annie Dodson, my first baseman, steal home in the bottom of the 7th inning to win the game 3-2, and it became the ESPN Play of the Year. In the
Really?
nation. Yes.
Play of the year.
Yes, got it in slow motion. She now works at Western Commerce. Yeah, she was the slowest girl on the team. She was my first baseman, but she did it perfect. We had actually practiced it and I told her we're going to do it now because we had her. She was on third. The other West Mesa had 2 outs, and I had a left-hand hitter up. I took the left-hander and put a right-hander to block the view of the catcher, and we stole on the catcher as she's throwing the ball back to pitcher. She came home, and
So a delayed
we won
steal.
it,
Wow.
and we won it, and it was a big thing all over the country. Yeah, and Albuquerque did the sports people on TV. They made a big deal. The Cave Girls, national record holder. In fact, you were saying that boys were national champs. My girls, they got T-shirt and said, Carlsbad, where boys will be boys and girls will be national record holders.
Whoa, that's a really good shirt.
It was good. It was good.
That'd be cool to find one.
But we had to come back through that. We won the first game pretty easy over Gallup. Annie Dotson, what a career she had just in that 3 games. She had a home run, her first home run out of the ballpark. The second game, she hits a double in the top of the 6th or 7th inning to put us up 2-1, and we won that game only 2-1. And then she's the one that steals home in the next ball game for us to break the national record.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's a great memory to hold on to when you're finished.
In fact, the people in the stands, when I went back out to third, coach third, people in the stands said, boy, Coach, that was a great call. And I said, it was an easy call to make. It's living with the results that might have been bad. We might have gotten thrown out,
Right.
And you got to do that. But we had to do something. I think we had 1 hit in the ball game, only 1 hitter. Yeah, and you got to find a way to win. You know? I can tell you this, in one state tournament, we're walking out of the ballpark, and the Albuquerque Journal come over and said, Coach, I need to ask you something. He said, do you realize that you guys, in 3 games, bunted 56 times, and that was more than all the other 7 teams combined? And I said, do you understand we're the ones walking out of here with the blue trophy? Because you got to put the ball on the ground. We bunted a lot because 40 feet, it's hard to hit those pitchers. So we're going to put the ball on the ground, and that's what we do.
Yeah. Wow. Small ball in its
exactly.
purest form. So you had talked about, that shirt, and I think that's perfect because I actually had a question in here that said in the late 80s and the 90s, baseball and softball were winning championships. Was there an internal rivalry between the staffs? Was there like a friendly back and forth?
Actually, the boys and the girls, boys would probably win the state champs first. They'd get in the bus and they'd come cheer for the girls.
That's cool.
And what was really neat about it is our girls, if we won or we're playing and Loving's playing, we went and cheered for Loving because they're in our county. We cheered for Artesia. Artesia, when they won 3A, they came over and they're in the stands. They're cheering for Carlsbad to win
awesome.
the 4A because we're all in the same group down here. It's like Loving and Artesia and us against the world.
Yeah.
And no. But the boys know. In fact, we were in a game, one of the state championships that we won at our ballpark, we were losing to Del Norte 2-1, and it was a bunch of cavemen their girlfriends were on my team, but they stood up and started getting after the Cave Girls. Come on, you can do this. And we come back and won 3-2. So
That's cool.
they were instrumental. Hey, get off your butts and start being what we call Cave Girl up. Let's get after them.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
That's
that
awesome.
got us in the finals. Yeah.
All right. So one of the things that through the years, I guess things change, but for you, what was more impressive as a coach? Obviously talent is a big deal, but mental toughness was also a big deal. So what did you value more? Somebody that came in that was willing to put in the work, or somebody that came in and they kind of just picked it up?
I'll be honest with you. We had so much talent. The worst thing I had to do every year was we had to cut because we'd have so many girls. One year we had like 75, 82 girls come out, and you got to cut 50 of them. And we're cutting girls. And every year we'd make a mistake. We'd keep somebody we probably should have cut, and we cut somebody that we should have kept. But we only have a week to get ready to watch them play. And if they're sick or injured and they can't show us what they can do, they're going to get cut because we got to move on.
Right. And there was only a varsity at that time.
Yeah. And
Okay.
Jim Sams, my assistant coach, we made up our own JV team. We just get in some cars and go play Eunice or Hagerman or anybody that had a team. And we got chewed out about it. They said, you can't do that. You could be liable And they said, you need to go on a school bus. And I said, that's fine with us. Schedule us a school bus.
Yeah.
And that's how we ended up with the JV team. But that's my philosophy. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. But I firmly believe a lot of people don't know this, and they need to know this, is my JVs were 8th and 9th graders. I didn't put – the only time I had a sophomore in it would be a pitcher that didn't get enough varsity starts, so I'd send her down against some other varsity team, like Loving's varsity. They would have juniors and seniors on their team. Or Jow, their varsity, Hagerman. Our JVs went 7 years and never lost a game under Coach Pagano. Seriously, and we're beating, like I said, Hagerman, Jow, they're varsities and stuff. And we believed I believe in them practicing with the varsity. And one reason why they were undefeated 7 years is people didn't think about this, but that means our JV team, made up of 8th and 9th graders, is practicing against one of the better high school teams in the region every day. Every day.
That's true.
So they're bound to get better.
Right.
They got better. And if I pulled one up, I didn't have to teach them signals all over again.
It was seamless.
They were already there. And we critiqued them. So it was mostly hard work. All my coaches carried clipboards. We graded them at practice, and we'd say, Donna, yo 2 laps. So-and-so, yo 12. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is we're only running the bases. We're not running around the outfield. We're running the bases. But then the bad news is if you got to run 20 laps and somebody only has to run 3, and that person with 3 misses second base, everyone starts over. So the guy that has to run 20 has got to start all over after he's already run 6. So we never lost a game because a girl missed a base during the game. Anybody can touch a base when you're healthy and you're, spry and you're not tired. But when you've gone into extra innings and you're tired, to stay focused on what you have to do to win the game. And we felt like that came through. But mostly,
that's cool.
What I brought, we had the talent. All I did was we made sure we had the discipline to put it together, and then the girls did the rest. In state championship game, I'd tell them, hey, coaching's over with. My job at third base is tell you either stop or go home. Other than that, the game's up to you.
Yeah. That's good attention to detail.
And I'm just telling you, our girls say, okay. Most of the time, our captains all that said, we got it, coach.
Yeah.
In fact, I've had a couple coaches. I only had one player ever call me John. I called timeout to go talk to her, and it's Shelly Owen. She said, John, go back, relax, I got this. And I went, okay. And I turned around and went back, and she just struck them all out.
Dang.
But, they're tough.
Yeah.
No, they're tough. Donna, I still remember the game. We're playing Los Alamos State Championship game, and they got bases loaded, and we had a ground ball, and we threw it home, got the force out at home, and Donna turned and threw the ball to first. We got the double play and got out of the inning. And I remember the umpire saying, boy, that catcher's tough. What is she, a junior? And I said, no, she's in the 9th grade. And
That's
he
awesome.
went, you got to be kidding me. He couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you coached a lot of great players throughout your career, like you said. Are there a few, I guess, stories that you have of some of the more memorable players or pivotal players, maybe some that went on to play beyond?
Well, we had several that became All-Americans. I mean, seriously, in college. Monica Armendariz, when she went to Indiana, she led the Big Ten in home runs her freshman year.
That's crazy.
Cassie Calderon was probably the best overall hitter I ever had. I never changed one thing with her. And she ended up going to UNM and leading the WAC and hitting her freshman year,
That's
and stuff.
huge.
But we had Carol Tabor that won tennis at 9 o'clock in the morning. Her parents got her in the car, drove her across town, and she pitched me 1-0 over Highlands for the state championship in softball on the same morning. And she only works for Steven Spielberg now.
Really?
Yes.
Holy smokes.
Yes. She became the first Abilene Christian softball coach, college coach, and Shelly Owen and Veronica Villa are in the Walk of Fame in Abilene Christian. Yeah, that's how good they were. Yeah, so,
That's
no,
huge.
we've had a lot of them. I had one ball player that ended up being the regional director for DNA, Drug Enforcement Agency. She was the number one.
Wow.
She was the boss. Yes.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So, and that kind of speaks to the discipline too. What was your discipline philosophy with your girls?
Well, I wouldn't say it's really a philosophy. I was old school. I mean, look at me. I'm old school. I'm Vietnam veteran. I was a military brat. So when I tell you that practice starts at 4, that means you better be there at 3:45. You come at 4. We actually, you had to run 2 laps for every minute you're late. And I had 3 girls one time came late. They were about 4 minutes late. And they said, it's not our fault. It's our moms. They took us out to dinner or whatever, and they got us here late. I said, girls, you don't understand. Somebody owes me the laps. And they actually went over and talked to their mothers, and their mothers came and ran the laps.
No
for them.
way.
Nope, that's honest God truth. They ran the lap. I said, I don't care. Somebody's going to run the laps.
Somebody's liable for it.
And they did. That's honest truth.
Wow.
And everything. So we believe in working hard. I've actually had practice for 2 hours, and I've called the girls forward and said, okay, you guys had your practice. You haven't had mine, so we're starting all over. And we stayed at 9 o'clock. I mean, but I can tell you this is one of the biggest compliments I ever got as a coach. Leanne Weldon, who's a vet here, she was doing her internship in Cruces under a veterinarian in Cruces. Okay. And this veterinarian in Cruces wrote me a letter and said, Coach, I need to tell you this. Leanne Weldon comes early, leaves late. She's a godsend. It's amazing the discipline she had. And I found out that she was a Cave Girls softball player, and my little girls were playing. So I asked her the question, how long did you practice? And Leanne said, until we were finished.
Yeah.
And she said, what a profound statement.
Right.
And I said, exactly. We didn't have a time. I have a 4x4 card. This is what I want to work on today. If it takes only an hour, we're going home. If it takes 3 hours, we're going to be there 3 hours. This is up to you girls. So they were critiqued on the practices. I had a girl interviewed one time. I heard her talking on the mic up in Albuquerque, and they said, boy, you guys were so calm. You never raised your voice up. And she said, our practices are harder than this. You know what I'm saying? They look forward to the games because our practices, this is where we're getting yelled and work and stuff. This is a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. And that was a compliment. But that's to the whole staff, and whatnot. They bought into it. I went to coach at Permian, and I said, how many people you have at the game? They said, oh, we have a lot of people coming to the game. Found out a lot of people with them was 50. I said, we make $500 during trials selling cocoa and coffee because we got 500 or 600 people in the stand just for our tryouts. And I couldn't understand that over there. But
that's huge.
But we had a lot of support. In fact, sometimes it was too aggressive, the booster club, but it doesn't matter. I'd rather have the booster clubs we had than other ones, They go, my God, parents come from other teams, and they say their daughters couldn't play for you. And I said, well, that doesn't hurt my feelings because you're right. I would probably have cut them because we actually probably recruited families more than we did the kids. We found out what kids are really workers. And, Leanne Weldon's parents were big-time workers. I knew what kind of people they were. The Moody's, and Donna, your mom and dad. I knew them way before Donna. In fact, she got mad one time, and I kicked her off the field. She went over and climbed over the fence, went home. And your dad sent her back and said, you ain't quitting. So I think it was about 3-4 weeks later, I said, well, Donna, why don't you go home? She said, don't you yell at me. I ain't going home. I went home last time. I ain't going home today. And that was good because then I knew I had a ball player.
Yeah. So what did you utilize the loop in Carlsbad? That's a legendary conditioning form. Did you guys ever do that?
I actually went going to all those national conventions. I learned about quicker, faster, stronger, and it was a weightlifting program that Florida State was doing, and it wasn't having weights. They don't do the big knee bends for the hips and all that because the girls would get too big, but everything was up above the waist. And if you only did one exercise, you'd want one of those lat machines pulling down because it builds everything back here. And you have to tell the girls that you had to convince the girls at that time that they would still look like girls if they lifted weights. And they were concerned about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I said no. And in fact, you think about it, you're going to get bigger across here in the back because of the lat machine and throwing. So when I put in the weight program, I did the weight program for 2 reasons. One is we had so many kids coming out that we started the weight program in the fall, and we did it every Monday and Wednesday night. even if you were out for basketball, when basketball practice was over, we had weightlifting from 7 o'clock to 8 on Monday and Wednesday night. And you didn't have to be on the Cave Girls. So we'd have a lot of 8th graders come up to show that they were going to be dedicated because they wanted to make the Cave Girls. And it weeded out a lot. A lot of girls said, I'm not going to do that. Well, good. We've weeded you out. We want the workers. And we were so getting stronger and whatnot. You could even see the little ones getting stronger, lifting weights, bench pressing and all that, that we carried it all the way through the season. And I finally, my last 5 or 6 years, we'd have weights right. We'd have to do work during 6th period athletics. On Monday and Wednesdays, we worked out even through the season. Right there at the ballpark, we had weights, pick up and stuff, time. My assistant coaches were there and everything. Dang. So we worked right through the season.
That's awesome.
We were probably the strong. Doesn't mean we're the best team. We won a lot of games just because of discipline and because we were stronger. My girls, they were strong because we're lifting weights. And I found out there was one other team that was very, very successful in the class below us was Piedra Vista, Kevin Worth. And he had a film of his workout, and it was even more harder than ours. So when I saw his, I changed ours even harder.
Made it tougher, yeah.
Yeah, I told people we might lose, but no one's going to outwork us. No one's going to practice longer than us. And we're not turning our lights off at our field until the cavemen turn their lights off at their field. We're not going to go home an hour earlier than them.
Yeah.
No way. No way.
That's cool. Yeah.
The best man of my wedding was the assistant coach, Bobby Click of the Cavemen.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, no way is that man going to coach.
You're not going to let him outdo you.
No way.
And you you really kind of touched on it there as well, but asking about parents, because parents now it just depends on what you're coaching, who's involved, those types of things. Very much more involved, whereas back in the day, I don't know, what was the parent involvement back then?
Well, it's good, but we had some issues. I've won a state championship on Saturday, and I had to go see the superintendent Sunday afternoon because one family accused me of being a racist because my pitchers, the only way you could be a pitcher on our team was being a blonde. Well, I'm going, well, you're right. I guess I am because it's working out because it's the 2 best pitchers in the state. But one of the best pitchers of all time for me was Dina Neveretti. I mean,
yeah.
And then I was accused. I'm not going to tell you the superintendent, but he easily made me put the starting lineup on the board. And I'm just telling you, give you an example: Donna Gonzalez catching, Cindy Rodriguez at third, Dina Reynolds. African American, Gina Castile at second, and the only Anglo we had on the field was Karen Perry in center field. And you know what my superintendent said? Well, we got a problem, but it ain't the one we thought it was. It was just the opposite. You know what I'm saying? But we didn't do that. I had boosters come and say,
that's crazy.
Out of 36 girls goes, did you know that 27 of them are Spanish? And I'm going, no, I didn't know that. I don't care. I want to win.
Right.
That's
what matters, yeah.
No. I picked the best athletes. That didn't bother me.
Right.
That's
crazy.
And we had that. But you face that, and that's just because they wanted their daughters to play. I mean, we had girls come out, try out in dresses that didn't believe in wearing.
Really?
Oh, no. I mean, everything. But they wanted to be part of a winning program. And we had a sign on our fence before we come, only dedicated softball players beyond this point. And I try to make it a private club. We have the Parents' Day, the first day some of the parents meet me for the first time, and what a horror story. They want to meet this mean coach and everything. And I'm real nice, and they get to tour the facilities. But after that day, no parents even allowed in the locker room. That's a private club, and only Cave Girls are in there. Don't you bring your brother, sister, they can peek in, but it needs to have what they call an awe about it, that you go in there, and this is dedicated people.
Right, you earned it.
That's right,
yeah.
And this is your private thing. And I became the girls' basketball coach, and they go, okay, what about? Well, my desk was in the locker room, and some parent found out, well, he's in there at that desk when the girls are dressing. Well, I never was in there when they were dressing. This was just where we kept our official papers and stuff. You know what I mean? I knocked, and my captains come and say, okay, coach, we're ready. We're ready for you. That. But we got turned in for that. And we had to put up a curtain. And I went, well, if there's a curtain, I can always move the curtain. I mean,
exactly. What's the difference?
Yeah, how stupid. But it was stuff like that became very irritating and whatnot and whatnot. But we got through it. I mean,
sure.
It's friendly. To be honest with Donna, well, he's one of his favorite because he knows her father, in the Knights of Columbus and all this stuff. It was harder on Donna because I made her work harder. You know what I'm saying? They don't understand that. How come Annie Dotson's his favorite ball player? Well, there's a reason why. She bust her rear off. She's one of our hard workers. Captains, I've fired captains before. Because they got it in their head that they didn't have to do anything because they were captain. And you're not. My captains have to. It's a great honor to be called a captain, but a lot of girls didn't want to be captain because they had to do a lot more work. They're responsible to make sure everything was done. Last ones to leave, they better be the first ones to show up.
Sure.
And we didn't have the team choose them. Our coaches chose them.
That's cool.
And we'd pick, and of course, then they would vote on things. I'd let them always, we started off where we only had one uniform. And we didn't really have a uniform to having one, to having 3 sets that could interchange. So we really had, what I'm saying?
Ton,
12, yeah. We had, they had 6 varieties. And I'd say, okay, captains, what uniform is it tomorrow? They got to choose that, and stuff like that. So
and that's a cool honor when you're, what I mean, able to pick.
And then we did something that I went to some convention and read about this. We made a study thing in the concession stand. I got a girl that had a straight A in English, a girl straight A in math, one in history, and we wrote a letter, and they took it to the head of department in the English department and said, my name's so-and-so, I am the representative for Cave Girls in the English area. If you have any girl, and we'd have the Cave Girl roster there, if you have any Cave Girl that's in your class that is struggling or whatever, you're to let me know, and I will work with them. And my assistant coaches, I hired them. Coach Pagano was an English teacher, Jim Burke was a math teacher, and they would have to go to class first during practice, and that time didn't count. And they're in there 30 minutes being tutored. Zeph Robinson was math, Jim Burke was math, Pagano was English and science, and when they came out of there, 30 minutes, they missed 30 minutes, but they had to stay 30 minutes late. So they wanted out of that. So the only way they can get out of there is that their grades go up. And out of 32 girls, our GPA one year was 3.79 overall. Because
that's incredible.
But on it, we invited those teachers to come and say, come watch us play. And teachers who that hated sports, they would actually come to softball and watch this girl that's making straight A's in their class play the game. And they were amazed. So we did that and whatnot.
That's cool.
And we actually had a study period on the bus. Everybody's supposed to bring the subject that they're the worst at, especially the young ones, because you got older girls there that are all making A's, and they can help you. And we'd get outside of Roswell going towards Vaughn, and I'd blow the whistle or stand up and say, it's study time. And you put up your cell phone. In fact, we eventually collected all cell phones before they got on the bus. They didn't get them back until after the last game. But put up all your comic books and your thing, and I better see. And my coaches walk down the aisle, making sure they're all doing their subjects and stuff.
That's cool.
But it brought them together.
You really did live at the field.
Oh yes,
you were there for a long time.
My wife's already said when I die, I had other issues, but she's going to take my ashes and spread them around at the ball field somewhere. She's already told me that. But I said it'll be don't spread them in one spot. It'll be the only place the grass dies.
Did you? I have a fun question for you, but before that, well, this is fun too. But what was your pregame routine, or did you have any superstitions as a coach?
I'd started one for about 6-7 years in a row. I don't know. I picked up 3 little rocks that were on the field, and I put them in my pocket. Well, we won. So after that, man, that's the first thing I looked for when we got in the state tournament. It was in the state tournament. I looked for 3 little rocks, and I picked them and I put them in a little pile right next to the door. And not that you're superstitious, but why take a chance?
Right. Yeah. Why? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no. In fact, it's funny you said that because our first state tournament we went to, Carol Tabor's mom was collecting all the uniforms in the motel. She was going to wash them. And I went berserk. You don't wash wins out of uniforms.
That's
you know,
crazy.
in boys baseball.
Yeah,
I said, you ain't washing them uniforms. She said, you're coaching girls now, and they're going to be clean. So she washed
She
them,
won that
and
one?
We won anyway. So that ruined that philosophy. But
Good.
And my other thing
That's
is injuries, and Donna could contribute to this, is we tell you if an aspirin doesn't cure it, we don't need you. And I taped aspirins on their injuries, and we went in a slump one time. I taped aspirins on the bats, and we came out of the slump. So anyway. But,
That's wild.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we try to do basically the same thing. I try to bring myself luck and stuff, but most of the time it didn't happen.
Sure.
You know, it's just
It's all about preparation more than anything.
preparation and
Yeah.
thing. I'm a firm believer that you take care of the little things, and all the big things will take care of themselves because you've taken care of all the stuff. So we always worked out exact same way. My coaches take them warming up and stuff like that.
Sure.
Why not? I did a lot of things different. I don't believe in give an example. Third baseman catching balls from the first baseman and throwing back to first baseman because she's only going to get a couple throws. My third baseman played catch with a shortstop. My second baseman played the thing, and everybody's playing catch, so they got a lot more throws, so they're warmed up quicker.
Yeah,
you know,
that
you're not
makes sense.
picking up just two and throwing across the way and all that and whatnot. I actually saw a coach one time hitting balls to his girls in between innings with a bat. There's no rule against it.
Yeah, I guess
It's
there's
very
not, huh?
It's very unusual.
I wonder if there's a rule against it now.
Oh,
You think?
I don't know. I
don't
wouldn't
know.
know. I
That's
wouldn't know.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so my final question for you tonight is a fun one because I was told to ask you this.
Oh boy, I knew I was going to get set up.
It's about pranks. I was told that you like to prank your players. Your players would prank you. Do you have any stories on pranks?
Well, yeah, I did a lot of things to it. Tell you the truth, I don't know who started it. Okay, I'm going to blame the girls. They started because I got to a point where I used to dress in the place where we had our three-wheeler and all that. I'd change clothes because I didn't have time, and I'd go and go back and put my clothes on, and I'd find chalk. They'd get the white chalk and pour it all in my clothes or pour it in my shoes and stuff. And one night, I parked my Bronco kind of in the hill, you know, behind on third base. It's kind of downhill.
Yeah,
And I parked on the side. That was a mistake because they put about 30 softballs inside the door. So when I opened, so it's night, I turned off all the lights and opened up the door, and all 30 softballs rolled down the hill. And I told them, guess how many laps you got to do tomorrow and stuff. And then one time, I acted like I was really going to chew them out and everything. And I made sure their gloves were out of the dugout. And that's when we had a door. I got rid of that door. That was because if you have a door, you have to keep it shut during the game. If you don't have a door, it's open. So, but we had a door then, and a chain link door. And I said, "Get in the dugout now, and get in there now," and everything. And my coaches told them to get in there and shut up. And boy, they're scared. And okay, we're going to get you down. And I'm watering the field. I got this fire hose blowing the field. And I walked over and I shut the door and locked it. And they're in that dugout and they can't get out. And I turned that fire hose on them and I blasted them. They're screaming and yelling. But they got me. One of the TV stations come down to interview us before we go to state. And while I was on TV and being interviewed, every one of them had a can of shaving cream and ran out there, and I looked like a snowman. They covered me up.
That's awesome.
When we went over I think it was our 300th win in Goddard, at Goddard, we had to win the doubleheader to get our 300th win, and we won it. And I noticed other ex-Cape girls coming to the game. I went, why? Boy, that's neat that they're coming to the game. I didn't know that they had spread the word, and they were all there, and they came out with a cake. And, of course, the news station was there to film it, Channel 7 and all that. Their 300th win. They didn't make that cake to eat it. That whole cake right
No
in my
way.
face. Covered my thing.
Yeah.
Said so much. So, no, we did a lot of pranks. Lisa Dancy one time we had mud, it had rained, and she was down on her knee, and I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I lost my contact down in the mud." So I went, "Oh, God." So I get down, stupid. I get down, I'm looking, and about 5 of them dogpile me. No. I mean, Valerie Bloss and Lisa Danson said they were the best tag team wrestling group in the world. And they almost crushed my head. They got me around.
Dang.
They were strong. Yeah, no. So we were always playing. I remember I got mad one time at Carol Tabor and Lisa Dancy. And I said, get off the field, get in the visitors' dugout and shut up. Well, they get over there, and somehow they got a tin cup, and they started raking it across, singing "Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen," like they're in jail and stuff.
Yeah.
And stuff. And then I knew I set them up one time. I chewed out old Lisa Benefield and Cantwell. They were my first baseman. I said, you drop one more ball, just get the crap out of here. And Cantwell, she dropped the ball. I said, just throw your glove and just leave the field. And she left.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And she left. She got in the car and drove off. Well, now practice ended, so they're running laps, and I could hear Carol and them saying, it's his fault. He's such a jerk and all that and everything. And I could hear them all talking about me. So now they go in the dugout, and I said what I had to say, and then I said, are there any questions? And I knew Carol couldn't let it go. Yeah, what about Julie Cantwell? And I said, oh, she's right around the corner. She went and got you some root beers. We'd set it up that she'd go to Becky's, and Becky's would get them all root beers for the team. I'd set them up.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff. But no, they
cool.
did that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
You had to watch it. They were always Coach Pagano. He was a smoker. He never was a smoker then, because they would he'd have a packet of Tiparillo cigars. They'd go and they'd tore them up, split them all in half, and oh yeah.
Oh, dang.
No. Oh yeah.
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 They broke him with that, huh?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you for being on. I learned a lot, and you have some really, really good stories.
Well,
I think that we should maybe make this a part 2.
Well,
maybe there's a part 2 to this.
Well, it helps when you have a rally. I'll be honest with you. I said a prayer night. I said thank you for the K-Girl program and districts and state championship, but the scholarships that the girls earned and everything, and the awards that I got because of those young ladies.
Yeah.
If I'd coached boys, I always wanted to be the head football coach. I traveled all over and that was a good thing, but they weren't going to hire a guy from Carlsbad. You had to be from out of town.
Okay.
And everything. So, no, the girls, well, think about it. All my life I wanted to play pro baseball and all that, but what am I known for? I'm known for coaching the girls, good or bad.
Right.
All I can say is we ended up being better than we were when I took them over, because when we took them over, we didn't have a field. We used St. Edwards field. And, and the next year we have a field, and from there on, every year we tried to add something to it,
Yeah.
and whatnot. And but the girls did. The first girls, they had, like I said, they had to drag their own positions, and they had to do a lot. It had nothing to do with softball really itself.
Yeah.
I know this. I coached them, and we lost the first couple of games, and I was going to resign. And I said, I can't do this. And the girls said, why? I said, because I got all these parents telling me how to coach girls, because it's girls. And I said, I can't do this. If I coach, I'm going to coach you like I would if I was the boys' baseball coach.
Yeah.
And every girl on the team, I had nothing but sophomores and one senior, nothing but sophomores. Oh, all sophomores, one senior, one freshman, and that was Carol Tabor. And they unanimously said, no, Coach, we want you to coach us just like you would the boys. And from that day on, I switched 3 or 4 of them's position, and I'd have 1 or 2 crying every day. But
it worked
we
out.
ended up winning.
Yeah.
We were 5-5. We ended up being 9-5 in the state champs in 5A.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No one can believe it. My wife didn't even go. I called her and said, you're talking to a state champion coach. We won it 1-0.
That's a heck of a start. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And in fact, Joe Willis was so worried about me coaching. I found out later he was going to have his wife travel with me because he thought I was so rough on him. But when that state championship game ended, he saw all the girls coming over and hugging me.
Yeah.
And he said, we got something here. He thought that maybe I should coach them like girls. But when he saw how they responded, he said, leave him alone. And he started going to our games. Him and his wife get lawn chairs and always watch softball because of the discipline. Because I'd say, hey, you didn't hustle. You didn't run that pop-up out. You're sitting on the bench. I didn't ever win most valuable player, but I always got the most competitive and the hustler award.
Sure.
And guess what? Every one of you are going to do that. everyone you can qualify. I got rid of, I never believed in the most valuable player. We never had it. We had the Cave Girl Spirit Award. And there was a 2-year period that I gave it to my manager. She did more to help us win than anybody because we part-time catcher, part-time, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's Cave Girl
cool.
Spirit.
Yep.
So,
That's
and that's
awesome.
what we gave. We started giving that away and whatnot.
That's awesome. Coach, thank you for being on.
Well, thanks
Really
for
do
having me.
appreciate
That's
you.
good questions. Sorry I get
Thank
carried
you.
away about
No,
somebody
I
else, but
appreciate you
that's
being on.
That's why Donna sent me here. She said he'll get talking and he won't shut up. I know. But I can talk about my girls.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
invited all over. I've been a speaker. It's because of the girls and their reputation and
Mm-hmm.
people that go, holy mackerel. I know Midland and Midland Lee, one guy, I heard a coach say over there, he said, when you think you're really good, go play that little town over there called Carlsbad. You'll find out how good you are because they'll kick the living shit.
Yeah.
The Hobbs coach used to say that. Everybody said, how good you can be? He said, we don't know. He said, we'll find out next week because we played Carlsbad. We'll find out if we're any good or not. And he said, we found out.
Yeah.
We got a lot of work to do.
We got something-
I
yeah.
can tell you this. I had coaches from Cruces, Galindo's and them. He asked me if he could film our practices. He said, that's never heard of. I said, we have drill day on Wednesday, nothing but drills. And I mean, for 2 hours, they're running, they're sprinting. And I said, sit up and stand. He said, we'll do it. And he came over and filmed it. He took it back to his booster club and everything at night. And I said, how'd it go? And he said, my booster said, there ain't no way our girls will work that hard. And he said, yeah, I know. That's why they kick the hell out of us every time they come over, because that's what his girls do.
Yeah.
You know, I had a guy at the national convention, they say, what do you do if a girl quit running the laps? And I said, I can't honestly tell you that. I've never had a girl quit.
Yeah.
Because she knows if she does, I got somebody to take her place. I mean, we cut 30, 40 people. We got somebody who can come.
Somebody's
come
waiting.
on, somebody take your uniform off.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I had I got mad at my 2 8th-grade outfielders that kept dropping the ball out there. They're 8th grade.
Yeah.
So I made them wear batting helmets in the outfield. And they're crying and all that. And they said, what? And I said, if the ball hits you in the head, I don't want to get sued. You don't want to wear a helmet. Learn how to catch the damn ball.
Yeah.
And everything. And one of them, Kristen Luce, I come around the corner. She's a tiny little thing. In fact, her and little Moody, she had brunette and Moody had blonde. We called them salt and pepper. They were so little. And I said, if we're coaches, we can't make them ball players. We're not worth coaches because they're so damn fast. It's unbelievable. So anyway, I come around the corner and she's sitting in the gravel crying. I said, what's wrong? I don't want to wear this helmet anymore. And I said, you don't have to wear it anymore. She said, I don't. And I said, no, take the helmet off, check your equipment in, and go home. You're out of here. You're through. And she put her helmet back on. And I'm just telling you this. The next year, she's a freshman. I'm hitting balls to the outfield. And balls come, there's blood all over the balls. And I'm looking, my catcher's looking around and everything. And finally, one of my catchers said, Coach, it's Deluge. She's got a broken finger, the bone's sticking out, everything. And so
Holy
I yelled at her. I
smokes.
said, Kristen, hon, you don't have to stay out there with that. Get in here. No, I ain't going to give you the satisfaction. Neither in hell. She ain't going to. It was on her, glove
That's
head.
insane.
I ain't coming in. You ain't making me do that.
Yeah.
She ended up being my captain, and she ended up going to UNM.
That's cool.
No,
Yeah.
she was a real deal.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Tough little, ended up being tough. In fact, her brother played for the Cayman. He was the first baseman. He's like 6'2". He said the other night, she was washing dishes with her mom, and he came in and popped his little sister in the rear with a towel, and she hit him with a plate. And he said,
Holy smokes.
Coach, that's all on you. You made a mean little shit out of her. He said any other time she would have cried and just gone in the room. No, she threw a plate at him.
Dang.
Holy mackerel, guess what we got down? I'm
Yeah.
like, well, she's got to be tough. Because, I said, I don't want to have to call up your parents and tell you got a broken neck because that girl from El Dorado that's 5'10", 200 pounds runs over you because you're timid. You better be tough.
Right.
And they stuck it to him.
They figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
I remember I think it was Dina Neveretti. We were playing El Dorado, and this one girl was beating us by herself. Her name was Branch. I'll never forget that. And she comes up for the 3rd time or 4th time. She's already got 3 hits. Dina Neveretti, Dina.
Yeah.
Dina looked at me and said, "What do you want me to do?" And I said, "Hit her." Well, I was kidding. No, Dina drilled her right. Yeah. I went, okay. Yeah. Carol Tabor. Coach, that black girl from Highland, she's almost standing on the plate. And I got in her face and said, what do you want me to do about it? What do you think you need to do about it? And I tell you what, that girl came up the next time, and Carol looked over at me and smiled and reared back and hit that girl in the helmet.
Oh, my gosh.
And Carol could throw it, man.
Yeah.
Boom, that helmet, she went down. And my assistant coach said, that girl's through for the rest of the day. She will never get a hit. And she was about this far away from the plate.
Really?
She wasn't going to get near that plate. But, yeah, Carol and them learned about it. Yeah.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you being on.
Here.
Guys, thank y'all for watching. This podcast brought to you by the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce. Coach John Tigert was some of the best throwback stories that we've had on the show. So thank you guys for watching. Catch you next one.